We stand at the edge of history. Africa, can you hear the chains rattling in the vaults? They come with gold, cold and luminous, but they come with demands. Give us your wealth, the masters whisper. Let debt be your master. But in Burkina Faso, a voice rises. Ibrahim Traoré lifts the torch in darkness. He says, no more. They demanded 70% of our gold, seize our heritage to pay for promises made in foreign tongues. They threatened frozen shipments, they threatened silence, but they did not reckon with courage. Imagine gold, not as a trophy of exploitation, but as the echo of ancestors. Imagine a people saying, this is ours. The IMF, the West, the legacy of colonial exploiters. They speak of contracts, of debt, of numbers. But what are contracts when they bind a people to chains? What is debt if it mortgages our tomorrow? Today, Burkina says, our gold is not collateral for your power. Today, a continent watches. Will Africa bow again, or will she rise, breaking free from the prisons of imposed debt? Let this moment be carved into memory. Gold seized, no. Freedom stolen, not this time. This is not an ask. This is a roar, not a negotiation, an awakening. And when the sun rises, it does not ask permission. Let the chains break, let the gold shine, let the soul of Africa reclaim what is stolen. They told us debt was a bridge to development, a bridge to progress, a bridge to the world of modernity. But when we stepped upon it, we discovered not a bridge, but a trap. The planks were made of gold, shining, blinding, seducing. Yet beneath those planks, chains coiled like serpents, binding our ankles, binding our destiny. This is the shackle of Africa's tomorrow. Debt, written in contracts, sealed in vaults, signed in languages not our own. Debt, a promise whispered sweetly, but enforced brutally. Debt, not as a tool, but as a weapon. And does it devour? It devours our fields, turning fertile soil into collateral. It devours our rivers, making water flow not for our children, but for foreign masters. It devours our gold, not as wealth, but as tribute. Brothers and sisters, listen. Every coin borrowed is a seed of dependency. Every loan celebrated is a chain tightened. Every repayment demanded is blood drained from the body of Africa. But a realization dawns upon us. We are not poor. We are plundered. We are not beggars. We are robbed. We are not in debt. We are imprisoned in a system built to keep us kneeling, and so resistance must rise. The storm gathers, not in the boardrooms of the IMF, but in the hearts of our people. We resist by seeing clearly. We resist by refusing to let gold become a leash. We resist by saying, our future is not for sale. Unity is our shield. Burkina, Mali, Niger, the Sahel rising as one fist against centuries of theft. The cry is not just national, it is continental. It is the voice of Ghana remembering Nkrumah, the echo of Sankara roaring through the Sahel, the spirit of Lumumba unbroken in the Congo. When Africa unites, no contract can bind her, no chain can hold her, no debt can define her. And what is the vision? A dawn where gold funds schools, not wars. A dawn where rivers irrigate crops, not corporations. A dawn where our children inherit fields rich with promise, not papers marked loan repayment. Let the fire of this vision burn in every heart. Let it remind us, chains are not destiny. Let it remind us, debt is not eternal. Let it remind us, the storm is ours to command. So I call to you, children of Africa, break the golden shackles, tear the contracts written in shadows. Lift your eyes from the ground and fix them on the horizon of freedom. For we were not born to serve. We were born to rise, and rise we shall. They came with papers in their hands, stamps, signatures, seals, the language of empires disguised as contracts. They said, give us your gold, and we will give you stability. They said, hand us your future, and we will give you peace. But Ibrahim Traoré looked them in the eyes and said, no. This word, this single word, thundered louder than 1,000 speeches. It was not just a refusal, it was rebellion. It was the roar of generations who had been silenced. It was the echo of Sankara, Lumumba, and Nkrumah rising once more. Understand this. Their demand was not about money. It was about control. Gold was the pretext. Subjugation was the prize. For every ounce of gold surrendered was another link in the chain, another nail in the coffin of sovereignty. But Traoré's defiance shattered the script. He refused to kneel. He refused to bargain. He refused to let Burkina Faso be mortgaged to a future of slavery. And so resistance was born, not in whispers but in fire. The people rallied, for they saw in his refusal a mirror of their own hunger for dignity. They understood. When a leader says no to masters abroad, he says yes to his people at home. This rebellion was not armed with guns alone. It was armed with courage, with clarity, with conviction. For the greatest weapon against oppression is not the bullet, but the truth spoken without fear. Unity followed. Burkina's defiance became Mali's defiance, Niger's defiance, Africa's defiance. A chain of resistance formed, stronger than iron, forged in the fire of shared struggle. The Sahel stood not as separate nations, but as one body, one spirit, one storm. And what vision does this rebellion ignite? A continent unshackled from dictates written in Washington and Paris. A continent where leaders are not chosen by foreign approval, but by the will of their people. A continent where rebellion is not destruction, but creation. The creation of dignity, the creation of destiny, the creation of freedom. So hear the call. Let Traoré's defiance be your defiance. Let his rebellion be your own. For when he said no, he was not speaking for himself alone. He was speaking for every farmer who toils under stolen contracts, every miner whose hands bleed for foreign banks, every child who deserves to inherit a homeland unbroken. And so I say to you, Africa, rebellion is not a crime. Rebellion is birth. Rebellion is the seed of tomorrow. And tomorrow belongs to those who dare to say it. No more chains, no more masters, no more submission. This is not just Traoré's rebellion. This is Africa's awakening. Gold. To the West, it is currency. To the banks, it is collateral. To the traders, it is numbers on a screen, rising and falling like waves on an endless sea. But to Africa, gold is not just wealth. It is memory. It is heritage. It is the blood of the earth, carried in the veins of our ancestors, passed down as the marrow of our destiny. They tell us, your gold must secure our loans. They tell us, your heritage must be mortgaged for tomorrow. But how can we mortgage the bones of our fathers? How can we collateralize the sweat of our mothers? How can we reduce the dignity of a people to a figure on a balance sheet? No, gold is not collateral. Gold is covenant. It is the covenant between generations, from the kingdoms of Mali and Songhai, where empires shone brighter than Europe's dark ages, to the fields of Burkina, where children still dream of freedom. When they take our gold, they do not just strip the earth. They strip memory. They strip identity. They strip the very soul of Africa. But here lies the realization. We have allowed them to dictate its value. We have allowed them to declare it is worth this much. Yet who are they to price our heritage? Who are they to weigh our ancestors on foreign scales? So resistance must come. And resistance begins not in minds, but in minds. We must see gold not as tribute, but as torch, not as a commodity, but as a compass, not as collateral, but as crown. Unity is forged in this truth, for when one nation defends its gold, it defends not only its soil, but the memory of all Africa. When Burkina refuses to hand over its treasure, Mali remembers its empire, Ghana remembers its Ashanti, Congo remembers its rivers of fire, and together we say, this is not yours to claim, this is ours to protect. The vision then becomes clear. An Africa where gold builds schools, not banks abroad. An Africa where it funds hospitals, not foreign wars. An Africa where a child can hold a coin and know not debt but dignity. So let the call thunder across the continent. Protect the gold not for today but for tomorrow. Protect it not as collateral but as heritage. Protect it as the living memory of a people who refuse to be sold, refuse to be measured, refuse to be diminished. For when Africa guards her gold, she guards her soul. And a people who guard their soul can never be enslaved again. This is the truth. This is the vision. This is the roar of Africa unchained. Once they came with ships. their sails heavy with greed, their flags soaked in conquest. They chained our fathers, branded our mothers, sold our children like cattle upon distant shores. That was the age of colonizers. Then they came with armies, rifles, cannons, uniforms. They marched into our villages, carved borders with rulers on maps, declared ownership of lands they had never tilled. That was the empire of colonizers. But today, they come in silence. No ships, no rifles, no soldiers. Instead, they come with contracts. They come with loans. They come with words dipped in honey and promises written in poison. And still, the chains are forged. Do not be deceived. The colonizer never left. He only changed his costume. He replaced the whip with interest rates. He replaced the gun with signatures. He replaced the chains of iron with the chains of debt. This is the long shadow of history. The same hand that once seized our lands now seizes our gold. The same hand that once auctioned our people now mortgages our nations. The same hand that once declared us colonies now calls us partners, but partners in servitude. And yet, brothers and sisters, here is the realization. The creditor is nothing but the colonizer reborn. The IMF, the World Bank, the foreign treasury, they are but new empires with old intentions. They do not conquer territory, they conquer time. They do not steal land, they steal futures. But resistance is rising, for we see their masks cracking, we hear their lies collapsing, and we remember our grandfathers bled to break the chains of colonization. Shall we not have the courage to break the chains of credit? Unity must be our shield. Mali, Burkina, Niger, the Sahel refusing to kneel. Ghana, Congo, Guinea. Nations remembering the voices of Nkrumah, Lumumba, Sekou Touré. When Africa speaks as one, the creditors tremble. When Africa stands as one, the long chains of history snap like twigs beneath the storm. The vision is not revenge. The vision is rebirth. An Africa unshackled from both colonizer and creditor. An Africa that does not beg for loans, but builds from within. An Africa that declares to the world, our destiny is not collateral, our freedom is not negotiable, our tomorrow is not for sale. So let the fire of this truth burn across the continent. The colonizer may change his face, but his chains are the same. And the only answer, the eternal answer, is the same as it was centuries ago. Break them. For the dawn that is coming does not ask permission. It rises fierce and unstoppable, and in its light no creditor, no colonizer, no empire will survive. This is Africa's inheritance. This is Africa's roar. This is Africa unbound. For too long, Africa's voice was silenced. Whispers drowned beneath the roar of colonial cannons, hopes buried under the weight of foreign contracts. For too long, our cry for freedom was dismissed as noise, our demand for dignity dismissed as folly. But today, listen closely. Do you hear it? The silence is broken. The voices are rising. The awakening has begun. From the deserts of the Sahel to the forests of the Congo, from the savannas of Ghana to the streets of Ouagadougou, the cry is the same: sovereignty. Not as a slogan, not as a dream, but as a living fire burning in the chest of every African child, woman, and man. This cry is resistance. Resistance to the IMF that would trade our dignity for dollars. Resistance to the powers that would chain us with gold. Resistance to the systems that have stolen centuries and now demand our future. But hear me, resistance alone is not enough. One voice can be silenced, one nation can be isolated, one leader can be targeted. Yet when voices unite, when nations lock arms, when the cry becomes a chorus that echoes from Cape Town to Cairo, no empire can withstand it. Unity is Africa's greatest weapon. Unity is the shield that guards our sovereignty. Unity is the storm that scatters those who prey upon us. Do you not see it already? Burkina Faso stands, Mali stands, Niger stands, and in their defiance others find courage. Their cry awakens the slumbering giant of a continent too long divided. This awakening is not just political, it is spiritual, it is ancestral. It is the memory of Sankara, Lumumba, and Nkrumah carried in the hearts of their children. It is the voice of Africa, remember, eyeing who she is, not a victim, but a force. Not a debtor, but a destiny. And what vision does this awakening reveal? A continent that speaks in its own voice, not in the borrowed tongue of foreign masters. A continent that defines its own path, not one drawn in foreign boardrooms. A continent that rises not as fragments, but as one. So let the cry grow louder. Let it echo in the markets, in the schools, in the fields. Let it be carved into the hearts of our children. Africa is sovereign. Africa is free. Africa belongs to her people. And to those who would silence us, know this. You cannot cage a storm. You cannot drown a chorus. You cannot chain an awakening. For once the voices rise, they do not fall silent. They grow, they multiply, they roar. This is the cry of sovereignty. This is the awakening of Africa. And this cry will not end until freedom is complete. Look beyond the chains. Look beyond the shadows of debt and the whispers of creditors. Look beyond the scars left by colonizers, old and new. There, on the horizon, a vision burns, bright, untamed, unstoppable. It is the vision of an Africa reborn, not bowed in shame, but standing in dignity, not fractured in borders drawn by strangers, but united in destiny carved by its own hands, not trapped in the cycle of poverty, but overflowing with abundance from the treasures of its own soil. This is not a dream. This is not fantasy. This is prophecy, and prophecy fulfilled by will, by struggle, by sacrifice. Can you see it? Children learning beneath the shade of schools built with African hands, not funded by foreign debt. Hospitals healing with medicines born of African science, not dependent on foreign aid. Farms rich with food that feeds our people before it feeds foreign markets. Cities powered not by borrowed energy, but by the fire of our own sun, the force of our own rivers, the wealth of our own brew. And this is the dawn of sovereignty. This is the morning after the storm. This is the reward of resistance. But hear me, brothers and sisters, visions do not come alive by waiting. They are born of struggle. They are born of sacrifice. They are born of courage that says, we will no longer bow, we will no longer beg, we will no longer bleed for the wealth of others. Unity is the key. For an Africa divided is an Africa subdued. But an Africa united is an Africa unstoppable. One continent, one cry, one destiny. And when that day arrives, when the chains lie broken, when the creditors are silenced, when the colonizers' shadows have vanished into dust, then the world will see Africa not as a pawn, but as a power, not as a colony, but as a creator, not as a debtor, but as a destiny fulfilled. So rise, Africa. Rise beyond the chains. Rise beyond the scars. Rise into the vision that was always yours. For we are not condemned to servitude. We are chosen for sovereignty. We are not the children of despair. We are the heirs of dawn, and dawn is breaking. The sun of freedom rises, unstoppable, unyielding, eternal, an Africa reborn, an Africa free, an Africa unbowed. This is the vision. This is the call. This is the destiny. Brothers, sisters, children of Africa, we have walked through the shadows of history. We have seen the colonizer wear 100 faces: soldier, banker, creditor, thief. We have felt the chains, heavy and cold. We have tasted the silence, bitter and long. But today, the silence breaks. Today, the chains shatter. Today, the fire rises. Do not wait for freedom to be handed to you, for the oppressor does not give, he only takes. Do not wait for the world to crown you, for the crown is already yours. Do not wait for the dawn, for you are the dawn. Stand in unity. Stand in defiance. Stand in the unbroken lineage of those who fought before us. Sankara, Lumumba, Nkrumah, Cabral. Their blood is not forgotten. Their fire is not extinguished. It burns in you. So rise, Africa. Rise in the markets. Rise in the fields. Rise in the parliaments. Rise in the streets. Rise with your gold, your land, your voice, your destiny. And to the world we declare, we are not collateral. We are not debt. We are not colonies. We are Africa, eternal, unbroken, unbowed. This is the hour. This is the storm. This is the awakening. The chains are broken. The torch is lit, and Africa shall never kneel again.